Hello everyone, welcome back again. My name is Jesse, and in this wonderful and exciting tutorial, we're trying to see how to work with higher order functions in Go, right? So we're trying to see how to implement, map, reduce, and filter from scratch in Go. So some time ago, I did the same thing in Python, so you can check the links below for it. So let's see how to implement our own map, reduce, and then filter inside Go. So these are very useful applications, so let's understand how it works. The idea behind map is that you have a function, and then you're going to apply that particular function to a sequence or a list or a slice or an array of numbers. So we're applying that same function on each of the elements of that sequence to return another list which has those functions applied upon them, right? That is the basic understanding behind map. Reduce, on the other hand, is that you have a sequence and you're applying another function that takes in the actual and return the current, right? And it's going to return one singular value, right? The cumulative value that is reduced. So it's picking a list and it's reducing it, right? That's the name. And filter is you have a sequence and you're applying another function that's on those sequence, right? So it's going to check for each and every of the elements. If the condition is met or it returns true, it's going to return those elements within your sequence that meet that particular condition. Right, that is the basic understanding behind filter. So let's see how to use this concept, right, and to implement them from scratch. I'll go back again to my terminal, and then this is where I have, and I'm going to go back with Go mod. So the version of Go I'm using is version 1.18 and up, so that means it supports generics, so that's what we're using. So let's go with Go mod init. I'm going to give it the name, so github.com/JCharisTech/Go tutorials, right? Perfect. So it's going to create a Go mod file which I'll use to track what I have. Then let's create our main.go file, and then let's open it with VS Code. Once I open it with VS Code, it's going to ask me some stuff there because I've already installed it perfectly. And then let's start. So this is it, and inside my Go mode I have my location for it to track it and then the version. So let's start. So first package main, this is going to be the entry point for compiling. Then I need to create my main function, which is going to, let's do something very basic. So print line hello Go developers, right? Something like that. And if I save it, automatically it's going to come because I have the extension support. We go run, and then the name of the file, hello Go developers. So everything is working. Now how do we implement the map function? So as we said, we have the map function is a function that takes a function and a sequence, right, and applies that function on that sequence. So let's go back and implement it. So we will create a function called my map, and what does it do? It takes in a function, a sequence. That is the big understanding. So the map is going to take in a sequence as we saw earlier on, and then the sequence is going to be, for now let's use int, and then it's going to also take in some function, and the function is going to be a function, right? And the function takes in integer, and then the return type of the function for now is going to be int. Later on we work on it later on. That is it, right? So we have a function that takes a sequence of integers. It's going to apply another argument for the function, and then we also have to specify the return type, which is another sequence, right? So perfect. So how do we work with it? So we can just go with my result, which is going to be my sequence that I have. So let's go with the same sequence we had, right? So int. So that's the basic understanding. So this is going to be our return. Our return is an integer, and we are going to be storing everything inside this array or sequence or slice, right? Perfect. Then we will look through it. So for underscore, and then value I inside my range. Inside the range of my sequence, I want to apply the function to it, right? So result is going to be, I want to apply, so this is going to be the result, going to be append, and then I'll apply that particular function that we have, which is fn, on my sequence, right? So we are applying the function on every one of the sequence, and whatever result you're going to get, we are going to assign it to my result again. Right. So what we are doing is that we are applying this function to all the elements inside this sequence, right? And then we are appending it back again here. Now we can now return the result. Perfect, right? So that is how it works. So let's see how to run it. So this is going to be apply the function. So apply the map function. So what we want to do, we want to apply it. Let's say we want to add some number to it. So it's going to be my, I can call it as in result, right? Which will be the function. So my map, and I'll apply. I have to get my sequence. So the sequence is going to be an integer of this, or a slice of, let's say 1, 5, say 6, 7, something like that. And then I will have to apply my function. So let's go with an anonymous function, which takes in the integer, right? As we said earlier on, and it's going to return something. It's going to return something, which is going to be a list. So it's returning another sequence or another slice, just as we had here. And then I'll apply the function to it. So the function is going to be, let's say, return a plus, you can just say 6, right? So we have our sequence here. We have our function that we are applying to, so this is going to be the function, right? So the function is here, and this function is, and then this function is going to return an integer rather, right? So let's save it like this. Now let's empty.print line my result. So that is all, right? So let's run it again. You see that we have 6 has been applied to, so 6 plus 1 is is multiplication. We are just multiplying it. So 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 5 is 30, 6 times 6 is 36, 6 times 7 is 42. So what we did is that we had one function, and that function was applied to all the values, and then it's going to return the result, right? The same length, as you could see. That's the basic understanding. So this thing could have been done like this. I could copy this entire stuff we had here, and I could have also created another function. So let's go to this func. So multiply 6, something like that function, which takes in a value with an integer, and then I'll pass it here. Right? So the same thing that we had here, you could have done it this way, right? And then I'll now pass in my multiply 6. So either what we did previously or this is still going to work. So let's clear it, run it, still we got the same result, right? So either you can define your functions here and apply it this way. So that's how to implement a map. But this map is only just taking integers. We want to be able to also take not just integers but any form of sequence, right? So let's see how to make it better. So this is the old one. So in case I want to make it better, let's copy this one and then let's make it better. So we can make it better by using generics. So let's see how to do the same thing. So func. So let's go back to the same thing here we had. This is using generics. So we can use any, and we can also use interface, right? Interface can be used for any data type that you want, right? The equivalent that you don't know. So it's going to accept any of them. So I can change these ones from the sequence. I can now change it from here to use a generic or any, and it's still going to work. So let's see how to use the generic. So in that case, I'll just go back to the same sequence that we had, right? So we had our sequence here, and then we want to use generic. So instead of this, I'm going to convert this function into a generic function by passing it here, right? So this is going to be T for the generic, that is by convention, and then I'm going to specify a value, and I can call it as, let's say, value any. So any is the same as interface, right? It's the same thing, but I prefer to call it any, coming from Python. Perfect. So now this is a generic function, and this generic function, so any place I see int, I'm going to replace it with my T, and the same thing for here. So now it can accept any value, not just integers, right? Perfect. And I have to change this one too. So like, how do I can also change the same thing here, right, to make it use generic. So this is where I'll place in the v, right? Perfect. Now so we have the result here. So now we have a generic function that takes in any value as takes in any value as a generic, and the sequence can also be any. It can be of the type generic. The same thing for the function, and the return type is also going to be the function. So the reason I'm getting this error here is because once I'm using this option here, I also have to apply the same thing for my value here, right? So this must be the v. Perfect, right? So that is it. So let's save it. And the nice thing about Go is that most of the time it's very useful. It gives you what it's telling you. So it's that var result is v. So if var result is v, then that means that the return type here must also be v, right? And now the error is fixed. So you just have to just check it out. Now let's apply the same thing. So the same thing we are having, now we can apply it on this, and it's also going to work. So if I run it again, it works. If I duplicate this one and let's apply it on something different, so this is 02, and I want to use something different, so now I can just go straight away without this, right? I can pass in some value, so I can just use any other function or use any other type, right? So not necessarily float. If I make this one float, so float 64, and I have to make sure that this is also changed to float. Then type is also float. Now I can apply the function to the other one, and it's also going to work, right? So let's hide this. So let's see. Okay, so it's working, right? So that is how to use or to create your own custom map function, right, in Go. So you have seen how to use one that accepts a specific int and another one that use generic, so that it can accept any type of function that takes in any type of argument, right? Very cool. So in the next session, I'm trying to see how to work on the other alternative, which was reduce and then filter, right, in the next session. So thank you for watching. See you another time. Stay blessed. Bye. Alright, so welcome back. So in the previous tutorial, we saw how to implement map from scratch in Go. Now let's see how to do filter, right? So the idea behind map, we saw you have a sequence or a slice of elements, then you apply a function to them. The same thing is similar to filter. You have a sequence or an iterable, and you're applying a function that ensure that if the condition is met, it returns true. It's going to filter them and return those that are valid. So let's see how to do the same thing. So the same is going to be very similar, right? The only thing is we will be changing some stuff. So let's go back again, and then let's see how to do that. So there's going to be our custom feature, right? So it takes in a sequence. If condition is met, it returns those that meet the condition. So let's see how to work it. So it's going to be my function, and I can call it as to say my filter, right? And this, as we did earlier on, is also going to take in a sequence. So for now, let's use int to make it easy for everybody, right? And then it takes in another function. So let's go to fn, which is going to be a function that takes in integer, and then it's going to return a boolean, right? Because we want to meet a condition, so that's why we are returning a boolean. Perfect. And then we can now specify the return type. Perfect. So we have a function that takes in a sequence and another function that returns a boolean. Perfect. So how do we apply it? So we can also do the same thing we did above. We can, first of all, we can also create the same thing we did here. So can have result, which is going to be a sequence or a slice of int, right? And then we can now loop through the entire stuff. So for v range, right? So for v in range, we want to get the range of the sequence, then we're going to apply the condition. So the condition, if the condition is met, so if the function meets that particular condition, so we have the value, and it's going to return true. This is my condition. Then result is going to append my result and then the value, right? So that is a basic understanding. At the end, we are going to return the results. So what you are doing is that we pass in a sequence, we apply a condition that returns a boolean. If the condition is met, we put that particular value that we are iterating through from the sequence into our result, and then we return it back. So how do we apply it? So we can come back again and see how to apply the filter function. So it's very simple. So as I said, we need a function that takes in, that returns boolean, right? So let's create a function called is odd, and this is odd function is going to take in some values, right? So it's going to take in, let's say, x int, and then it's going to return bool. So it matches the condition that we have here. Perfect. And how do we get the, whether the value is odd number? We are going to take the value, going to find the modulus of the value by 2. If the result is 1, that means that it is an odd number, right? So it's going to return true. So now I can come back here and then I can apply it. So let's go to is odd values, which is going to be my filter, and the filter takes in a sequence, so I can just pass in, let's pass in these values here to save us time. So you see that 5 and 1 and 7 are odd numbers, and then I can now pass in my function, so it's odd, and I can print it back. So fmt.print line, then odd values. Perfect. So let's go back again and run it. Hopefully everything works well. You can see that 1, 5 and 7 are all odd numbers. If I add, say, 3 2, and then let's say 10, you're also going to get the same result, something different. So the reason we are getting this here is because I forgot this. Let's save it, run it again, and we have 1357. So we have seen how to implement filter. So the idea behind filter is that we have a sequence, right, which is here, and we are looping through that particular sequence and applying a function that checks and returns boolean. So if the condition is met, it's going to put that particular value, the element from the sequence, inside our list, and it's going to return our slice or our list, right? So that's the basic understanding behind the filter. So there are a lot of values. If the condition is met, those that meet the condition are going to be returned. Let's see how to do the same thing for reduce in the next session. So we'll be trying to see how to implement reduce in the next session. So this two functions, map and filter, are very useful, and then it can be used in different forms of application, right? So thank you for watching. See you another time. Stay blessed. Bye.